Good afternoon, everybody. So a big important point I was reminded of, and it's a teachable moment here. I did professional speaking engagements when people used to have me out to their organizations when my message wasn't so threatening to industries, right? Or business models or businesses. But I was speaking in front of a handful of surgeons, and the surgeons were there presenting new scientific evidence-based breakthroughs on elbow injuries and shoulder injuries, and more surgical techniques for the surgeons there on what they're going to do. They're going to change where they drill into the bone. They're going to change where they support the anchor. They're going to change the stitch work that they're going to do. They're going to change all this stuff about the fixes and the cures and the remedies and the surgery. But then their last slide of all their PowerPoints was preventative measures. And again, I have a problem with the preventative lifestyle because it's just as confusing as a disease-conscious lifestyle. As we're constantly living in prevention, not seeing the body's symptoms of healing and injuries as guides rather than things that need to be prevented at all costs. If we live perfectly, we'll never have a life of symptoms or never have a life of injury or never have a life of feelings other than the things we enjoy. And that's just not possible. So their preventative measures on the last slide were things like test the kinetic chain, and we're talking elbows and shoulders now, strengthen, recovery protocols, more icing, more NSAIDs, lifestyle changes. This is literally like it. And it was just one slide out of 93 slides. And then I got up and got to speak, and I was promoting my book at the time as well. And I still had doctor in front of my title, doctor as a title. And so credibility was gained, especially in these places. And I delivered what I was going to deliver and went with the cause of injuries and a different framework. And everyone's nodding and in agreement. And then I said, what's interesting about that last slide you showed is you're trying to say you're testing the kinetic chain, meaning just how forces ripple through the body and the chain work of events. But you stopped at the shoulder. Human beings are more than a shoulder. And they didn't like this. And they understand the way the bureaucracy and the way the licensure and boards are set up. This is why I said anybody who's board certified doesn't understand human healing or the body or moving forward or medicine. Can't be credentialed in any way. You just wouldn't understand because the methods of what they're teaching you dissolve your understanding of human, because if you understood it, the profession would be gone. It just wouldn't exist anymore. There wouldn't be a need for it. And so they look at people like they are a hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, and shoulder, and it stops there. But the chain is a human. It's a human being. It's Julie and Mark. It's not arm, scapula, or the musculature there. It also is the entirety of the body. It also is everything that can affect, and the body that can affect out, and they just glaze over with lifestyle. Well, it goes beyond lifestyle. It goes into the intimate uniqueness of the human experience. And that is just like everyone in the audience of my talks responds differently to my message. Which one of you are pathological in your response? Which one of you are healthy in your response? The ones that feel good are healthy, and the ones that don't like what I'm delivering and they have a feeling of it that they don't enjoy, they're pathological somehow. But if we went in and measured the blood and the hormones and the hormone levels and the T levels and all the stuff and the blood pressure and the interleukins and the cytokine storms and all this bullshit, if we measured it all and put a number to it because you didn't have a feeling you enjoy, and we put a measurement to it that somehow that's the cause, and if we fix that level that you'll feel like everybody else and you'll fit in and you'll enjoy sitting in the audience of life, that's medicine. So again, it didn't go over well. And then afterwards, there was discussion, and they tried to give me a scientific measurement on a study that they did on force into ligaments and the amount of force that a ligament can withstand, but they're testing on cadavers. Like, all right, well, a cadaver and a live human being don't make any fucking sense. So to compare them, so I immediately was like, well, this is a cadaver, so that doesn't make sense. Secondly, this amount of force that this ligament can withstand until breakage, can the human being not change what this graph looks like at any given time? And they just blank stare, like a South Park stare where they're just staring at you blinking. again, you dissolve any science and any research and any evidence based. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so that's the point I want to make here is, you may enter, you're wanting to understand more about your body through a knee, or wanting to understand more about your body through an accident or emergency, or wanting to understand more about your body through skin or moods or fatigue or fertility. You may enter with an immune response or nerve or heart or brain, but you leave with an understanding of the entirety of your life, who you are, why you are, and how you are. That is medicine. It is not enter with skin, leave with skin that looks like everybody else's. Enter with hormones, leave with hormones that are levels at like everybody else's. Enter with a knee, now leave with a knee that feels better and that operates exactly how you were before, with no change whatsoever, no understanding of your life or your habits or your activities or your routines or your beliefs or your patterns or your cycles or your energy or your lymph or your skin or your hormones or anything that they've told you, and any level of understanding from an image standpoint to a test standpoint to a label standpoint to a diagnostic standpoint. You enter as whatever the feeling, sensation, and experience is. You leave with a total overhaul of, you may not change anything, but you understand. It's not changes, it's in understanding, because now we have a level of life out there that is changing their life to fix these things. And that's where changes now became a medication, and that doesn't work out, because that's not why the body spends energy on symptoms or spends energy on this sensation that you had. It's not for you to change to stop it. It's to understand. Just like when I cut my forehead, if I just would have been, oh, don't do that test, I'd leave the test and that's fine. I could live a life without going into that, but I want to go into that. I want to experience that. So instead, while it's bleeding, while it's there, the body's going to heal it. I now get to go in and go, wow, I get to assess my pivot point. I get to assess what I learned from the experience itself and then apply it into other things in my life. Instead of blaming the blood or blaming or just being like, oh, it's a skin thing, fix the skin, and then go right back to it and it cuts again and it bleeds again, and then blame my body or blame the cinder block for cutting me and then blame the, like, absolutely not. So you enter, I used to say this, you enter, back early on, 20 years ago, back in 5 years in when I was starting this, you entered with wrist tendonitis, you left with calves and hamstrings. And then it phased into, you entered with a pull hamstring and you left with, knowledge about nourishment. Or continue on, you entered with, Parkinson's, neurological, back surgery, disc surgery, and you left with an understanding of neurology, nourishment, rest, light, training versus physical activity versus, and now you entered with skin, you left with the knowledge of training. You entered with physical damage, you left with a knowledge of skin, the knowledge of rules and laws. Like, it's everything has to be addressed at all times. And it's the entirety of your life your body wants you to understand, see, and gain meaning through and gain depth through. It is not to micromanage and spot treat a simple, because I've sat in and these were the best. I've sat in on these talks with the best, and the best don't understand human healing. The best don't understand life, because the best is all about the best by getting everybody to respond the same way, by getting everybody to live the same way, by getting everybody to fit into the same little mold, to get everybody to be a number, to get everybody to be renamed into a diagnostic code, to get everybody to live exactly the same with a life and a future of no disease, no pathologies, no injuries. And a life of that means we have a life of no memory. We have a life of no experience, no learning, no wisdom, no ability, no growth. That is how we grow. That is the best, is trying to get people to understand life and live life that way. It's not a health conscious, it's not a disease, because it's not preventative in nature. We don't do cures, we don't do remedies. You can spot treat very easily. They're training people to do this very easily. We're taking emergency care and we're spreading it through life. So again, you enter with skin, you leave with an understanding of your life. You enter with energy, you leave with an understanding of your life. You enter with damaged joints, you leave with an understanding of your life. That is how it is. And there's no getting around that. Your body's not wasting energy on the symptom. You aren't to waste the opportunity that you have going on now. And it is not just a cut. It is not just an ankle. It is not just skin. It is not just a dream. It is not just the ability to digest. Not just weakness, strength, or depression, or loneliness. It is not just anger. It is not just an experience. Ever. It's to see it, feel it, sense it, apply it, understand it. And you can have a radical change, just a response in the body, just on the decision alone. It's deciding you want different, and deciding there's nothing that's going to stand in your way, and deciding there is no plan B, and deciding there is no ship on the shore in case this doesn't work. There is no it doesn't work. It always works. That's the certainty of the body as a healing response, to prove back to you, saying you, it's okay. Trust me, it's okay. Keep coming back to here. I'm going to keep on it. I'm going to keep on it. Because how do you earn trust? With consistency. Over and over and over and over. You. The whole of you.